Is it on go or is it on 3 or is it on 1?
Problematic.
I'm Marquise.
Problematic. Problematic. Look out podcast. Here, Sito in the building. Problematic.
It's your boy Juju.
Problematic. Look out podcast. Problematic.
Yo, what did my man just say then?
Problematic.
Yo, you're listening to Mr. Rock.
Problematic. Cookout podcast.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your favorite squad once again, back at it again with another episode. I'm your boy Juju.
It's Marquise in the building.
Your boy Sito's here.
It's Mr. Rock.
And we are the Problematic Cookout. Welcome back to another show. Today, we're following up on our conversation on social media to speak about the battle between man and the machine. From the flip phones to the self-driving cars, let's discuss where our world is headed. Without further ado, y'all already know what time it is. Let's fire up the grill. And fellas, what are your thoughts on the increased use of technology in general?
I think it's good, man. We just more technology, use it more. Technology makes our lives better, right? There's just too much innovation. Every new thing that comes out just makes our lives that much better. And there's a lot of fears where whether they are irrational or rational fears that might hinder a lot of people from trying to like use technology and stuff. But I think we need to keep on using it because every improvement that happens just makes life a little bit easier regardless of what we do.
Yeah, I hear that. You know, as a tech geek, as I call myself, you know, I love new technology and I love the way it comes in and we can do many different things with our lives and, you know, cut down the time it takes to do particular tasks and jobs in our daily lives. But at the same time, I think to myself, are we going too far? Do we need all this extra technology? Do we need to, you know, have all these apps accessible on our phones that take up all our time and, you know, retract us? It gets us closer to other people and, you know, gives us other jobs that we could do on the side and things like that. But
yeah,
also, you know, it can, you know, take us in another direction.
Fair enough. I'd say I think it's definitely good. In my opinion, I didn't really have access to technology till I moved to Canada, and when I got to see all these different things we can do, all these different things, like using a computer, you can do so many things. Makes life easier. But my only issue is that I think with more use of technology, the more dependent we're going to be on technology. For example, I bought into the whole Apple stock. I got my phone, I got the Apple Watch, I got the AirPods. Though whenever I don't have my Apple Watch on, I just feel like something is missing. Like,
Yeah.
Like you forgot to put your boxer shorts on, right?
right? Like,
I feel naked without my Apple Watch.
That's it. You know,
That's
and
terrible.
I'm not. I know it's terrible, but you just become so dependent on these things that are we really going to be able to live without them if they're ever taken away. I don't know.
Yeah, but what if you're living in a world where, you know, that's a standard, right?
Yeah.
Like wearing shoes is just normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like what if we get to a world where technology, like using technology to that extent is just the norm? Like, do you still think as a problem? Because I don't know. Like, there's a lot of people. Like, I'm decently good with direction, but there's a lot of people they go to work every day and they still have no idea how to get from their house to work without a map. That of course is dangerous in some ways, but isn't that
the problem right there? Because take that app away from them, maybe they'll learn how to find the directions on their own.
But do they even need to still do that though? We have the technology.
That's why I'm saying.
Why would you need to look at a map when any device, any of the 3 devices you have on you at any time can lead you in the right direction?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's true.
Yeah, I get that, and I think sometimes I think, you know, why not just turn your phone on and use your GPS and stuff like that? But the other side of it is when the systems go down, as we've seen this week, there's been certain things in the media and certain networks have gone down and whatnot.
Exactly.
The impact can have a catastrophic,
For sure.
impact on how people are doing their day-to-day things. So it can go from being super great to then if you don't have it, then what do you do? How do you revert back to things that, in 10 years time, people that haven't learned the skills that we've learned growing up over the last, 10, 20 years, how do they go back to, picking up a pencil and a pad and sending notes and stuff like that,
Yeah.
Yeah, but at that point, I think, the real question at that would be, how do we make the technology more resilient? So if everyone has like an offline version of the map that they need to get where they're going, even if the network goes down, their phone still has an offline copy. They can still use the map to go somewhere. If that person's phone dies, there's probably going to be some system somewhere where they can charge their phone or they can ask somebody for help to get in the right direction. When electricity came out, we have not gone back to no electricity times.
Yeah.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
That was like a major innovation. And I'm pretty sure there was people back then like, electricity, oh, that's nothing. That's crap, whatever. But now it's like every developed country has some kind of power grid. And they are that much better for it. So when we talk about, but what about life without the technology? The point of the innovation is to make it resilient so that even if it does go down, we can still rely on it to some degree.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're saying, like with your example with electricity. And have you guys ever had a power outage and like realize how much of like your life just kind of shuts down?
Yeah. I just had a power outage like 2 days ago or
but
last week.
It happens. It's at least I know like back in Cameroon it happened like every week.
Exactly.
But, like, here in Canada, like where we're so dependent, like it has become, while Canada, the US, North America, like our Western world, it has become so resilient that it happens. It's, it doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't.
It has actually become to a point where we can really depend on it. And we do, I can think,
but
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, that's the thing. It's a dependency. So we're depending on something that is sometimes out of our own reach to manage. Say, for instance, a power outage happens. You get a candle, you get a match, you strike it, there's light. You can get on with your evening. You can still see it. But my point being is that we know how to light a match.
Yeah.
Whereas in 10, 20 years, people are not going to know how to do the basic things.
Exactly.
To get them through those.
I think that's a testament to how resilient we just made the system. Because if every house has some kind of battery backup that they could use and it's not expensive to maintain it or install it, then why do we really still need a match? We could use electric grills and have the same effect, right?
So what about the homeless? it's just
what about the extreme of situations?
I mean, Nikola Tesla tried to make a power system that was free and wireless for everyone. So I'm pretty sure if there's a will, there is a way to provide some kind of free electricity. It's just that capitalism doesn't kind of allow for that right now. However, if we get to a point where we're that efficient, we're that resilient, I'm pretty sure there's free power that could be had anywhere.
Yeah.
And it'll be a point where it's like inconvenient to use the free power, so you just go home and use the stuff you pay for or something like that.
Yeah. And I guess for my sake, one thing that I find exciting about it is, when I look at technology, like VR is something that's like super cool to me. I think about, just the idea of, I love sports, right? So like the idea of one day being able to be sitting courtside at a game, but I'm actually in my living room because I don't actually enjoy leaving my living room. But if you're sitting courtside, you actually got to put that drip on, right? But being here with my sweatpants and like just being courtside at a game, like that would be dope. But for you guys, I guess what is the most exciting aspect of where the world's headed with technology? Is it more how it's impacted like our personal lives? Like like we've been talking about, or how it's impacting our workforce and the opportunity there to earn an income and things like that?
It is a little scary to think that a robot can take your job.
Yeah.
But with innovation always comes new jobs. So in America, we have the coal miners. I'm pretty sure, I don't know too much about the Canada situation. I feel like there was some pushback in certain areas where you do the drilling, but we're doing coal energy. Now everyone's like pivoting to green energy, and everyone who is in charge of the coal energy is just trying to like hold on to that for dear life. But once we go into the new technology, jobs will be created to support the new infrastructure and new technology. So, you have to be willing and able to adapt. If you were a coal miner for, the past 20, 30 years, and a green energy job comes and destroys your whole joint, just do some training to switch over to a green energy job. You should be okay, in my opinion. And I think that's just the consensus for me in any job that automation can replace your line of work.
Yeah.
I'd like to think like that, and sometimes I feel there will be roles that open up and people can upskill and get into those roles. The only downside is there's so many jobs that are going to be just filled by the robot just doing it. If you think about factories, for example, the amount of robots that have come in and taken over those jobs now. There's people out there that aren't skilled, unknowledgeable in terms of, they get to a certain age. It's harder for you to, reskill and upskill into a new area because your brain starts, taking information in very much slower than previously. So there's going to be a generation of people that are going to be left behind. Now, it's probably the time where, people start need to looking at that. But the progression and the development in technology is moving so fast. For me, I don't see, 20 years time, there's going to be those jobs that we kind of think there are going to be, because automation is just going to come and, take all of that. And I can't see what's going to replace it right now. I don't know if you guys have any other different views or opinions on that, or what type of roles will be there to replace them. But if we think about one of the industrial ages, which dealt with a lot of horses, for example. Horses were a tool that everybody needed, and you had to have a horse to distribute and move things all around the world. When the new industry came and the automobile came in, horses were no longer needed. So in the rest of the world, horses are, they're there in some communities, in some environments, but for how they used to be used in the past, they're no longer there. They're no longer needed. So I kind of feel we will be the new horse in the future. There's not going to be as much horsepower needed or manpower needed because we now have technology. That's my thoughts.
That makes sense, man. And actually, just to build up on that, I just want to touch on your point about a generation feeling left out. I think a lot of people do not like change and do not like change quickly. So if this whole technological automation wave is coming, a lot of people are not going to be ready to adapt to any new situations. And I guess, in a sense, people who are older, people who, maybe at a point in their career where they don't feel like, they want to upskill just to, keep with the times, they'll be at a disadvantage. Because that's the only way you're going to have to move forward, is constantly stay on top of your game, stay on top of all the new things that are happening in your industry in order to stay employed. So I feel like that's going to be a big issue coming up.
And it's also in your industry. Say, for instance, we're in the first world, as they call it, like third world countries, they're still behind in certain technologies and things that they're doing. Those jobs are going to be no longer existent. And how do they build and, come forward if they don't have the resources and the knowledge and infrastructure to get to that point? They just get left behind on an island. That's that's my balance on it. You know, there's goods, but also, are we really thinking about those people that are coming through, or are we just creating things now, and then we'll deal with that later on?
Well,
Yeah.
to that point, I feel that there will always be an opportunity, because if you look at a third world country, you know, they do have resources despite not having the innovation that first world countries have, right? So that, in a capitalistic mindset, creates an opportunity for investment where a person or some rich person who needs a facility to create more of these robots can go there, pay that third world country to create an infrastructure that can support something like that. And then that will just get them up to speed. They may not be up to speed as a first world country, but the opportunity for investment will always be there. It does kind of depend a lot on A, the individual trying to do the investment, B, the government or localities in place to agree or disagree with said issue. You know, there's an island in somewhere with just Native American, not Native Americans, but natives from God knows how far that want nothing to do with anybody anywhere in the world. And a guy tried to like go onto the island and convert them to Christianity and got massacred. You know, there's just going to be some third world countries that prefer the way of life, back to Mark's point of they don't want to change. It may, you know, in some cases it may ruin it. And that's part of the rational fear, where you have one person or one body of people basically controlling and manifesting how the technology should be used. And it may not be for good. It may be for bad, but I still strongly believe that we need to go in a forward position, because no matter what new good stuff comes to the world, someone will always manipulate it for nefarious purposes.
And let's talk about, you know, the concept of automation, because it seems like there's kind of a mix to my question of being excited about how it's going to impact our workforce, and how between, you know, being excited about it and you know, not so much. But if I look at what for those people that maybe don't know what automation is and business process automation, and there's really 4 reasons to why businesses may be looking at automating some processes. You know, it can be because the process may be repetitive in nature. It doesn't require any logical thinking or human intervention for completion. It's an important process, and that needs to have consistency, or it needs to be error free. So those are the 4 reasons why business may be looking at automating. And when I look at those, for myself, I like to challenge myself. So I look at those and I'm like, that opens the door for roles that, you know, that aren't repetitive, right? That do require a lot of thinking, a lot of, you to put some personality, to put your twist into it, and reduces the amount of mistakes. For you guys, how do you guys hear that? Is that something that's exciting, or is that something that's like still those jobs are necessary or whatnot?
I think it's exciting. Like, if something is repetitive in nature, there's no way you are going to enjoy doing that same repetitive process over and over and over again for the rest of your life. Humans, we get bored. You know, we need a change up. We need a switcheroo. We need some kind of flip of the script. So automating processes, I mean, usually if they do it to save money, and it's unfortunate that, you know, some people get caught by the wayside because that was like their job, but it needs to happen because it's that effort. You know, the people who do it best are the people who can transition the people that are being left behind into something else, right? If they can't transition those people, that is a big problem. And that's where the fear mainly comes in. But automation, if it's that simple to automate it, just gotta go for it. You gotta do it.
Yeah, the automation is it can be a really good thing. If you're a small business, for example, and there's certain tasks that you need doing, bringing automation to carry on those elements of the role or the task. So it's really good. If a lot of people decide they're going to start their own business and develop particular areas of industry or whatnot, when it comes to bigger organizations, the automation can work in the other way, because you might just be the person that needs to be standing there. If that machine stops working, you're just clicking it back on. And they just need a person to do that. So the repetition comes back into it. You're just a minder of a machine that does a job that you used to do. So there's that side to it as well. But yeah, automation is the way. Right at this point, there's no stopping it, because we have to get with it or die without it. Marquise.
In a sense, would you guys say the issue we're having with automation now, well, not an issue, but what we're experiencing with machine learning and automation now is kind of similar to like the wave that we had previously with companies choosing to outsource certain tasks as opposed to doing it with themselves? It just ends up being, the benefit will be, it's most likely cost effective to outsource to another country, let's say somewhere else halfway around the world, because it's cheaper for them to do that task for you than it is for you to do yourself. So I guess it's kind of the same thing here. Like automation for a big company, they'd probably really go for it if it's cost effective. It's going to save them some cash in some aspect of form, even if it's just saving them time.
And I mean, it is true that, like, if you really think about it, the people that will be impacted the most will be the people at the lower part of the chain, right? So it won't be the executives. Like we're saying, it's going to open up opportunities for different jobs, for more challenging jobs. But those jobs will require a certain level of education, a certain level, a certain base standard that maybe not everyone has. And the people that don't have that will be the ones being left out, really, because like you said, like they're the ones that are being cut out and their jobs are being taken away.
Because with that, if you talk about, say for instance, automated call centers now, probably like 5-10 years ago, in the UK, they moved a lot of those jobs to, Asia, to India and Pakistan or that kind of region. And now they have the technology for a computer to do that work. So now they brought the jobs back. They're bringing the money back that they're still creating for themselves. They've cut all those jobs. So that money that was going over to those countries and, clothing and feeding and making their economy, sustainable, that money is now back in the UK. So now we've already started to cut out a large chunk of a workforce who are now scrambling to find the next job. And for them, it was a decent paid job. To us in the UK, for example, it wasn't really the highest paid job. It was like a basic job, but the pay that you would get in India, for example, was a decent, you could run your whole household, for example. But now we've pulled those jobs away. And then if these countries are struggling as it is to maintain their economy, we've pulled out a whole load of money from them, and now we're keeping it onshore with us. So that's one example of how automation is already hitting the world, and how are they surviving? How are they, reproducing off that?
And what's even crazier is even scammers are suffering from automation. I don't know if you guys have noticed recently. Well, for some reason I get a lot of these robocalls where it's like, we have your social security number, and it seems that you've not paid your taxes or something. Like a lot of these things are becoming automated now. So
in the US,
you never know what's going to go.
I wouldn't necessarily consider that a bad thing, but
it's not a bad thing.
Marquise, like,
it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying.
It looks like you're struggling a little bit in that.
For us, it's vehicle registration. Oh, your insurance is blah blah blah. So that's the biggest one.
I'm looking here through some of the jobs that and I have a list here that could be automated in the future, right? That if you look at where businesses are going, and I'm looking at like it's insurance underwriting, warehouse and manufacturing jobs, customer service, research and data entry, production line, evolution, local TV advertising, pharmaceutical discovery. So not all of these jobs are like bottom of the pole, positions. Like those are jobs that a lot of people really depend on and make good income, that people have went to school, studied for. So in some sense there, and the list goes on and on, but yeah, there's going to be a lot if we think about having opportunity out there in the world and being, and that opportunity obviously going to change. But what do you guys think about some of these jobs? Is it scary to see how many positions are being taken away? Because humans aren't going anywhere. We're not going to have less humans. How is that going to impact our world?
Yeah, it's deep. When I say deep, in terms of we. Looking at this list now, I know a person in every one of these, these industries.
That makes a good, and those aren't people that are struggling to make ends meet, right? Like people that,
I think sometimes when we're so close to working in the technology industry, we kind of are a little bit blinkered in terms of what else is going on around us, because that's not our day to day, until you start communicating, until you start looking at the list and you think, oh, I know someone who does, research and data entry, for example, or on the production line. And these jobs are going to be ripped away. And a lot of the jobs that we go for, or the industries that we're in, they'll say, do you have a degree? You don't have a degree? Oh, we're not interested in you. No matter how great you might be at a job, if you don't have a degree, you're not even coming in the door. So that's another thing that, can impact this list of jobs that are out there that, will be decreasing in the next 10 years.
But yeah, I think even though these jobs will be reduced in some capacity, new jobs will come forth that can fill a role that's like really close. Because, the data entry stuff, that's like mundane, production line, advertisements. Like there's always another side to the whole automation thing, and that's the creative side, right? Yeah. No level of automation will be able to surpass human creativity. No matter how smart of an AI you build, machine learning, how fast it is, something, and that's something unique to humans, right? We know how to make something that appeals to other humans, which would make other individuals want that thing or make it appeal to them in some way, shape, or form. A robot cannot do that. They may be able to do some kind of subset for it. So if you're in one of these other roles, you'll always have work, because these robots are going to need help in some way, shape, or form, No,
that makes sense. Even just speaking to a role like in the banking sector, like roles like customer service as a teller, even. They've introduced ABMs or ATMs, and every bank has an ATM now. Yep. So you pretty much do whatever you want the teller to do for you at the ATM yourself. But that also doesn't mean that a lot of tellers lost their jobs.
They be freezing your money at the ATM, man. I need my money now.
You know what? I actually worked as a customer service or as a teller for a while, and jobs didn't really decrease once they introduced all that. All it was that people just found other things for them to do. So instead of just doing the routine tasks of making withdrawals or depositing cash, they have them now selling other services. They could talk to you about life insurance, a whole other wide variety of bank services the bank can offer you, other than the typical cash cash-based processes. But
Yeah.
I think the whole point is that there's, like Sid said, there are going to be other roles for people to fill, even if.
Well, I guess let me ask you guys that question bluntly. Like, what do you guys think some of these other positions will be? What do you think what are some of the jobs that this will lead to?
Well, for one, definitely fixing whatever robot breaks or fixing the glitch that the AI has, that will definitely need a human to look at and resolve. But it's not entirely easy to say that, a new job is just going to come and replace that job. I'm just very confident that will be the case. For example, I remember talking to someone years ago how they were complaining about, iPads are going to come into McDonald's kiosk and then you won't need to talk to like a person to order your Big Mac or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And I got into a heated argument with this man over this, and I'm just like, what is the problem? Oh, because minimum wage worker, you're taking another worker out. And then I remember going to London a few years ago, and we went to McDonald's that had a bunch of kiosks open, and so where there was 6 kiosks and you had 6 individual employees there were now 2 regular kiosks in case something was wrong with your food, and like 6 iPads where people could just like dial and get their food. Those other 4 employees can do something else, whether it be cleaning the restaurant, making more food to get more orders out.
But sorry to interject there.
Yeah.
Those same people, guaranteed, they would have been needed from before. There's probably additional services that could be opened up. I'm not saying that's not a possibility.
Yeah.
But the initial injection of the new technology, you get, like, there's a store called Tesco's. We can probably edit this out if we needed, but we don't want to promote it. But they put in a system that there's probably like 20 kiosks that you go to, and you just pay for your things. You just tap your card and you're out the door.
Yeah. Self-checkouts.
Self-checkouts.
Yeah. But before, they would have had to have 20 workers. Now, looking in that store, I know there's not that many workers plus those people that are working at the standard checkouts.
Yeah.
So they've got rid of those people, or they've pushed them somewhere else. But even when you push people down the line, they're skilled here. You move them down the line, they're less skilled. The people that just came in the door that don't have any skills, it's like, well, we don't have any work for you. Or they turn it into you're paid or you're asked to come in when needed. So you have these zero hour contracts. So we only need you when we want you. Whereas before, they'd have to keep those people on anyway, regardless.
Fair enough. I think.
Any thoughts, Marquise?
No, I was going to say, I think then at the end of the day, it's just going to be industry specific. There's no like one fix or automatic say that these jobs are going to be created. I think it's just going to go down to what job or what specific process is being affected or being automated, and people are just going to have to figure out how to mitigate
one more thing
that.
to add on. Sorry, I'm chatting away, but okay, what I would say is with the AI that's coming in and automation together, you'll have machines that will start to learn from other machines or even from other people. So they fix this tomorrow, the day after that, the computer understands, oh, this is how I'll fix it. This is the change in the code. This is the part that needs changing over. And whatever we're doing, even today, the things that we do online or on our computers, the systems are watching us and seeing what we're doing and seeing, how we're changing this or how we're fixing this as a human. All those things it's learning to then, to use the AI to be at that point where it can think like a human from a point of view of fixing something. So instead of having a human to go and do that, now it understands this breaks, this is what needs changing. This person is no longer needed in the process.
No, there's so. In your opinion, Rock, like you're saying that you don't think that it's creating more opportunities, that it's just going to slowly take more jobs and more opportunities away for actual humans.
Yeah, definitely. Because I feel there will be jobs, but the difference between lower class, middle class, and higher class or the upper class,
it's just gonna be
the middle class is just not going to exist, because right now the upper class are taking the money, giving the jobs to certain people, and there's going to be a pay divide, a big difference in terms of, you know, who has and who has not. Just from watching some of the futuristic films that I love to watch and seeing, you know, what the future is gonna hold for people, and I don't think it's gonna be that great, to be honest. So right now, it's get on the other side of that fence, or you're gonna be down in the gutter.
Yeah,
It's as simple as that.
As you speak about that, you know, I looked up here, you know, 7 positions that most likely, you know, that will never be automated. And on there, you know, we have healthcare workers, the teachers, the creative people, social workers, lawyers, supervisors, and computer systems analysts. So a lot of people that will take care of that support. So in that, you know, we do see that a lot of those positions are the higher income earners, I guess. So do you guys see other jobs that maybe you can't take away? Or how can, I don't want to say prepare, how can you prepare for it, but where should people headed when they think about, you know, their career, if they're really thinking not only in this is what would make me happy. It's a little sad to say, but this is what's going to give me a job, right? Because what's going to make you happy, you know, you can always do, you'll be able to do the things you love, right? But if you're looking at it from an investment perspective and from a, you know, I want to do the things that give me opportunities in the future, what are some other of those positions? And do you guys agree with the 7 that I just named?
Yeah, I agree with those 7. I feel like there's definitely a few more that we might have missed out, like a human resources professional. I mean, that kind of falls under social work, but not really, because it's more private sector. Musicians, you can't, like, you can make an AI that can make music, but it'll never sound as genuine and awesome as, you know, some of the greatest people to ever create music. And
that probably goes into creatives.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, that falls into creatives, I guess. Yeah, there's a few that I can't think of them right now, but there are some that kind of create some tension in between these roles that definitely can't be automated. Like the things that are rooted in the human experience, pretty much, because that's what this underlies, right? The human experience. What if there's someone, you know, like a pharmacist who becomes like a, you know, professional drug dealer kind of thing? You know, yeah, you could automate doses and stuff like that, but when it comes to actually, because like a pharmaceutical company goes to another country where they have some kind of natural medicinal treatment and converts that into a pill that can provide the same treatment, right? You know, AI can't do that on their own because they wouldn't even know what the medicinal treatment is. You know, a scientist and AI need to come together to make that new treatment, whether it be for like cancer or AIDS or some major disease that we face today, COVID even. You know, a new virus could come out tomorrow, COVID-25, and, you know, AI is not going to just figure out how to fix that in all humans by itself.
For sure.
But then if we focus on, say, for instance, music, for example, 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, maybe, or probably actually more than that, about 50 years ago, okay, you wanted to make a track. You had to get the drum kit out, you had to set up the drums, you had to mic the drums up, you had to mic the singer up, you had your reel to reel. Yeah, you're going to run this and you're going to record this track that's going to be a banger in one go. You had to go from beginning to end perfectly. Yeah. Nowadays, you don't need none of that. You can break it, you can bring things in, you can re-record, you can sample up, you can add all types of effects, and the computer can do that for you. You can say, I want this in this key. it will put it in that key for you. Whereas before you had to use your ears and bring it up to that key with a guitar, for example. Now the computer does it for you. So the reason why I'm highlighting that as an example is computers and technology move forward and do many things that we couldn't do 40, 50 years ago. But they're doing it now. And if you thought about that 50 years ago, you'd be like, nah, that's not going to happen. But it is. So I kind of feel a lot of the things that we think potentially won't change or won't have an impact, technology will fill those gaps, because the computer is learning. Technology is learning how to think like a human, how to, you have a smartwatch. It'll take your blood pressure. You don't have to go to the nurse to get your blood pressure done every day now, because your smartwatch will do that for you. And the receptionist that would take that information and share it to the doctor, your phone will do that automatically online. So we're already cutting out, if it's not directly the person's job, we're cutting out tasks, which then there's redundancy in the human interaction.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I was going to say roles that require the human interaction would be basically foolproof from automation, but I think you just changed my mind, Rock.
On me, that's what I was thinking, because I always thought, I obviously work in sales. I always thought, sales jobs aren't going anywhere, but now they're speaking. I was reading some articles that are saying that they're finding more and more AI tools that will allow companies to just use that to send automated emails that work, right? So that takes, they will know who replies to what email, who reads what email at what time of the day, and they'll just automatically send those out without needing any, salespeople.
I think after
actually doing the reaching out.
After it's collected all of the data of, if it collects all the data that you've done or monitored how you've done your work, then it's pretty much.
Yeah, just like the other week when you were looking for, Adidas tracksuit, for example. It has it in the system that, this Adidas tracksuit will probably last him 3-4 months or 6 months.
Yeah.
At that point, 6 months, they're going to say to you, do you want to buy an Adidas tracksuit?
Right.
True, but I feel like you still need a creative or some human interaction at some point in the chain to.
It's saying that the leadership positions won't go away, so there'll be someone making that decision, but there'll be less of the actual people. Okay, cool. Here's what we're gonna sell. Here's how we're gonna sell it. Now you guys go do it. So those are the things that are gonna, because
I'll tell you what, I get automated emails all the time trying to sell me some new cloud this, cloud that, and I just don't even look at half of it. So if an AI still knows the magic formula to when I'm going to read this email, if the email is crap, I'm not going to read it regardless of how efficient it was at sending it to me,
But let me throw that to Juju, for example. Like, you love J's, you love sneakers. Yeah. Now, when you're not thinking about it, it's all good, right? Until you get that thing pop up on your Instagram or your Facebook or something like that. And it's kind of like, you know what? I've been looking for those. I've wanted those for a long time.
I wasn't thinking about them anymore.
Yeah,
because I've been thinking about saving my money. Yeah, but now that you bring it back up,
but imagine the store didn't have to put them in front of you because the machine put it in front of you. But, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna buy them.
But also imagine if an AI tried to automate the sneaker creation process and it was just churning out crap sneakers, and then now in your feed is this ugly butt cheek sneaker that you would never ever buy, and now it's in your feed. That's why we need the creative to be there. How many failed designs that went to a board and got reviewed and they're like, nah, these don't look good, scrap these. And then the next sneaker that came out, they probably got 7 sneaker designs and one of them worked. That's the one that's going to get automated and sent out. But if you leave that to an AI, they're just going to keep churning out, I'm just going to try this colorway, that design, this, that, and the third.
But doesn't it go by what was popular? Yeah. So say, for instance, on your Instagram feed or on a website, for example, if you've been to one web page 5 times and another web page 100 times and you look and they're selling both the same product, it's going to give you the one that you've looked at more often, because it knows that that's more of your preference. So it puts that in front of you. So say, for instance, the sneaker side of it is kind of like, okay, Rock likes 11s. He likes the paint and he likes this particular color. So if I put these two together, these are his favorite colors. This is his favorite shoe. He's gonna love it.
But what if they make a bootleg 11? It's just a knockoff of the 11s. It's like, yeah, instead of patent leather, we gonna make this faux leather.
That's
joint.
what Kanye doing. He can do anything, and people just get it. Just because he wear. But anyway, just to ask you guys, in your opinion, what are, how can people prepare for it? How do you guys think that people prepare for that digital age that we're already in a digital age, but the one that we're headed into?
I believe that everyone, and I feel like I've touched on this in other episodes, everyone needs to learn some level of computer science. Whether you want to strive to be in a STEM career where you're an engineer or some kind of medicine or something like that, or you are the complete opposite of that and you want to be a creative, you want to write, create stories, do art, music, anything like that, learn computer science to a degree. I'm not saying you have to get a whole crazy education on it, but take a programming class or two. Because the beautiful thing about computer science is it's all about the best way and the most efficient way to complete something. And I know that sounds counterintuitive with creative like minds, but there are some key takeaways that you can take from some kind of education like that, where you can either interact more closely with somebody who's in the field, because I'm going to, as a fellow nerd, programmers, developers, engineers, bit on the weird side until they hit like a later age. If you can relate to them in a certain logical fashion, you can either help them make their jobs easier or appeal to them in a better way. Unless you are an engineer yourself and you're actually working on the AI and automating it, I would say everybody needs a level of computer science. It should be in every school from like 5th grade up to wherever you finish school. So that's my big thing.
Fair enough. I think to build on that, I would say, if we can expect automation to lead to eventual job losses, people should consider other professions. If you're in school or currently preparing to go to college or university, you might want to know what careers you might want to avoid, and select a degree that can help you set realistic career goals. Yes, you do want to do things that you're passionate about and you care about, but that's where the research and analysis comes in. How much more viable is it as a career in the long run? So definitely do your research and figure out what would be the most appropriate path to go in.
Yeah, I'd say definitely the same things I've been telling my trainees I used to have. I always used to say to them, when you go out in the industry and you're working, you're doing your day-to-day job, make sure you keep an eye on what's changing around you. You're working on a particular project, another project's coming up. Is that project going to impact your department? Will that mean that there'll be less people needed in your department? And if so, keep an eye on and start building those networks and those connections with those people to see where you can fit into their process, because then it puts you in a position to know what you need to be learning and what you need to be developing. And if that does happen, that your team starts to dwindle and starts to reduce, you already have your connections and you already have the knowledge from studying and so on to say to the other person, hey, is there any roles coming up in this department? I'm interested in this. I've been studying this. How do I get in? And then before you know it, you're into that area. And then when you get into the next area, you start looking again. You just keep your eyes open to see what opportunities are there, how you can build your skill set, and having a wide variety of skills, not just focusing on one particular area, as you grow and as you develop, don't get caught up in one specific job and that's all you know how to do. Know how to, have multi disciplines. So if one fails, you can pick up in another area while the other area, picks up, and you can self-study to build back your skill set and knowledge to get back into that industry. That's my main thing. Just, keep your eyes open and make sure you don't fall asleep at the wheel. Because if you do, you're going to crash.
That makes me, that's interesting to me because a lot of people don't even know it, but whatever they're working on it on something that will get rid of their jobs. So like that's like just waking up on that. That's interesting. But for me, I would say I approach this from bringing all of those together. I think those are all interesting, but I approach it from a financial standpoint and understanding that to not be dependent on one position, one job, one skill set that you have. So you guys all, touched on it a little bit, and it's diversifying not only your skill set, but where you earn money from, and understanding that can be taken away at any moment. So making sure that, okay, this pool of income that's coming in is now gone. I'm going to take advantage and capitalize on this pool. And that brings me to the point of just, capitalizing on the opportunity that technology brings. And, thinking about all the things that you can do from the comfort of your home with a laptop in front of you now, taking advantage of all of those. I think that, that in the future that's how I would prepare for it. Make sure that I see, I keep my eyes open on, all right, I can take advantage of this. I can learn this skill. I can learn this skill. And then bringing them all together, not spreading yourself too thin, and really becoming good at all of those, and making sure that, okay, if this one goes away, perfect. I still have those that I can now, spend even more time on. But either way, guys, whether you were happy with it or you were not, this is where our perspective and where our world is headed. So we suggest that you prepare for it, but we're going to sign off for today. So if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you give us a like, as that helps our channel and our podcast tremendously. If you haven't done so, please make sure to follow and subscribe us to our channel. So you're notified every single time we drop an episode every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Also, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram to be part of our community there. Guys, these were your boys from the Problematic Cookout, and we're signing out. Peace.
Later, fam. Catch you on the next episode.
Is it on go, or is it on 3, or is it on 1?
Problematic.
On Marquise.
Problematic. Problematic. Cookout podcast. Here, Sito in the building. Problematic.
It's your boy Jude.
Problematic Cookout podcast. Problematic.
Yo, what did my man just say then?
Problematic.
Yo, you're listening to Mr. Rock.
Problematic Cookout podcast.